Where are my Black Americans? I want you guys to watch this video because what this woman actually said is absolutely 100% correct. And apart from that, one thing I want us to do is to please go support this woman because honestly, she was just saying the minds of a lot of Black Americans. One thing that these white folks have literally created is to make a lot of people's mindset to be out of where Black Americans are. When I saw the clips of this video, I was like, how did this woman come into this conclusion? Because this is so beautiful to watch. And that is why I can never doubt, I can never doubt when I see a lot of white folks saying that Black people are more brilliant, they are more intelligent, and they are God chosen. I just want you guys to watch this video and let me know what you think. Credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do subscribe. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking my videos, dropping commentaries, watching my videos. I do not take you guys for granted. Guys, let's go watch this video and I'll be back with commentaries. Let's go watch it.
How many times I have to remind people that white people are not the morality standard, socioculturally, sociopolitically, geopolitically, historically, on the basis of humanity, because white history, imperialism, colonialism, and the delusion of white supremacy are the most violent, unethical, and illegitimate systems of oppression that have never been reprimanded, and white people have never paid reparations for the harm that they have done to Black and brown people across the globe. Mind you, they could never pass the purity test that they are obsessively trying to give Black women on a daily basis, because that would require being honest about history, about their place in it, their role in it, past and present, about the fact that chattel slavery still exists. It never went away, here on U.S. soil and beyond. Genocide never ended here on U.S. soil and beyond, and the cognitive dissonance is coming from the fact that white people do not register that they are still a part of the oppressor class. As long as they have not been reprimanded, as long as reparations have not been paid, they are the oppressors. They are not the puritanical morality standard. And because they have evolved epigenetically with unreprimanded colonialism, imperialism, and the delusion of white supremacy, they automatically see themselves as authoritarian figures, which is why they are constantly trying to establish themselves as cops and police everything Black and brown people are doing. The police state was designed to be a continuation of genocide and a vehicle for chattel slavery that specifically targets Black people. White people could use their privilege to solve these problems, but they choose not to. They are not targets of the police state. They have the privilege, they have the resources, they have the systemic power, and they choose not to. White leftists specifically, who are constantly spouting 200-year-old theory by European white men that was not designed to solve the systemic issues of racialized oppression in the West, could apply that theory that they are demanding everyone operate on, but they don't, because they don't want to. The only functional example that they have of Marxism, communism, socialism, etc. working is the Black Panther Party. They are not up to date in their theory. They have no history of that being a practice here in the West. We are not living in the East. This is the West, where racialized chattel slavery and genocide are the pervasive, continuous systems. Black and brown victimhood was designed to exist in perpetuity because the systemic oppression of white supremacy was never intended to not exist. If white people genuinely wanted liberation, they could, but they are oppressors. Oppressors are not liberators, which is why they are constantly trying to derail Black and brown effort. Always. And they have this internalized white supremacy, this internalized white cis heteropatriarchy, this internalized colonialism and imperialism that, again, they have epigenetically evolved with. Which is why they are not working to uninternalize it. And unfortunately, when it comes to politics, when it comes to intersectional leadership, like Black women, for example, these are the same people who don't recognize that they are already operating within a base level of misogynoir and subconscious and conscious bias. And they are trying to push purity tests on Black women to affirm that bias, that confirmation bias, that Black people can't be trusted. If you are white, why do you think you should be trusted? What have you done for Black people? What have you done for brown people? What land have you given back? What reparations have you paid? That European theory, again, that's 200 years old, you haven't applied it. You're trying to scapegoat black labor because y'all don't actually want to do it. Because you can look at things theoretically when you're a part of the oppressor class and when you're not actually experiencing the subjugation that you are perpetuating. But also, black people, let's not pretend like our community does not have a real history of attempting to bypass and avoid and deny black victimhood. And that is internalized white supremacy. When you are black and your critique of black women is only garnering celebration from white people, there is a blind spot in your liberation. There's a blind spot in your politic. And I'm not saying that black people are above criticism, that black politicians are above reproach, but there is something very odd about being black and being a soft landing space for other people's misogynoir, for their white supremacy. And that is what is happening. And there are these fake white leftists who are claiming, I'm critical of everybody, da 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 da. But then if I go to your reply on Threads, why is there 100 critiques of black women and no critiques of white people? There's receipts. You can see people's replies on Threads. Why are you constantly in black people's comments arguing, trying to dissuade black leadership? Because that is what white leftist politic is. White leftists do not understand that they are the modern day white liberals that black leaders warned us about, because the white liberals evolved, or devolved, as I should say, into moderate conservatives. And white leftists have now become the white liberals. The reason why you think that nothing you're saying is misogynoir is because you're still an oppressor. In a world where racism still exists and the delusion of white supremacy is the pervasive and dominating societal system, you will never run out of white people to correct. You will never run out of white people to convert from racist to non-racist. And unfortunately, black people, brilliant black people who do have valid criticisms, there are so many white people looking at your dissent of black people, of black women in leadership, as a way to scapegoat their white supremacy. They are looking to hide behind you. I'm not saying this is true of every single black person who's critical of black women in leadership, but what I'm saying is that there are more racists than not. And there are very few white people who've really completed that uninternalizing of white supremacy, that decolonizing, that deconstructing. Very, very few. Very few. And everybody white thinks they're the exception, and they're not. Which is why most people's politics continues to fall apart on misogynoir and anti-blackness. White people, does not matter your political affiliation, your demographic, white people overwhelmingly put a fascist in office. That was your community. Doesn't matter if you're a communist, a Marxist, a Democrat, a socialist, you're whatever. It doesn't even matter how you voted. What matters is the overwhelming majority of you, of your community, voted for this. So you're not in a position to puritanical politic with anybody. You should be puritanical testing your own community. Puritanical morality police white people. Because y'all have done nothing for black people. Y'all have done nothing for black improvement. Y'all have done nothing for indigenous improvement, for brown people. Y'all have done nothing but continue to be the bully victims in every situation. Your critique needs to be primarily targeted at white people. You think that you have intellectually bypassed white supremacy through leftism, and you're still behaving as white supremacists, regurgitating white supremacy. And unfortunately, black people, we are guilty of intellectualizing our way through internalized white supremacy to avoid victimhood, to avoid the label of victimhood. We're already surpassing the oppressor. As long as chattel slavery still exists and has not been reprimanded, as long as reparations have not been paid, we're still operating in a system of white supremacy. And white people's opinion about politics, we've been subject to white people's opinions about politics, and look at where this country's at.
Despite their long journeys of colonizing the world, one of the most intelligent things in my belief that white people ever did was invent the racial hierarchy chart. White people convincing white people that they were the better race, but also convincing non-white people that the further they looked from white people, aka black people being the furthest, they were the lesser race. That itself was elite colonization, mental colonization. That mindset alone has ruined generations, ruined countries, ruined cultures, ruined communities, ruined so much. I just saw a video of white Russians and Ukrainians that are apparently dodging the draft. They went to Sri Lanka, right? And Sri Lanka is a South Asian country. And guess what they did? They posted a nightclub that was like whites only. Let me repeat that to you. They went to a South Asian country, dodging their draft, and they started a nightclub which they labeled as whites only. in a South Asian country. And these are precisely the same people, not exaggerating. These are the same groups of people, Ukrainians, when they went to London, fleeing from Ukraine after what Russia was doing, right? Fleeing from Ukraine, fleeing from white people like themselves. And they went to London and started complaining that there were too many ethnic looking folk, that the woman with the head wrap at the bus stop was questionable, that the black guy taking his child to school in the morning was questionable. And at the time I was like, okay, well then go back home. Because you're not afraid of people with the phenotypes like yourself that are actively bombing and destroying your country, killing your people, but you're afraid of people that look like me that's just trying to live. People like me whose countries and home has been bombed and ruined by people with phenotype like yours. And the racial hierarchy chart itself trickled down into the ethnics, right? And I'm talking about the rest of us because it really has a lot of black people thinking because they're not African American, they're better than them. It has a lot of light-skinned people thinking because they're not dark-skinned, they're better than the dark skin. It has Asians thinking that they're better than black people. It has Hispanics thinking that they're better than other Hispanics. And all of that is white supremacy. No matter what the reason is, ask an Asian person who don't like black people why you don't like black people. They will list you stereotypes given to them by white people. Matter of fact, ask a North Asian person why they don't like a South Asian person, and they will list you reasons that is ingrained in white supremacy. And I'm not even talking about, let's say, a Japanese person talking about an Indian man. I'm talking about a Japanese person versus a Filipino person. And it's not to dismiss the wars and the tragedies that other cultures have within themselves, for example, Japan and other Asian countries, but I'm amplifying that a lot of the reasons as to why we don't like each other is ingrained in the racial hierarchy chart, just like affirmative action. And it's like subcultures and nationalities and countries have issues and problems with each other, right? But a lot of that stems from white supremacy. And to varying degrees with each other, we all have this understanding, this mindset. We all have our confirmation bias that's linked to white supremacy, and we need to do better. How do you go to a South Asian country and host a whites-only club? I would have rallied the entire gang against you. Like, we would send you back home. You're going to war.
The white men in the top 1% have successfully made a good portion of the white men in the lower class, the poor white men, think that the poor black man is his enemy, is the reason why he's suffering. I literally had somebody in the comments say, I'm a white man who struggled raising my 5 kids. I got denied for SNAP because I'm white. No, you got denied for SNAP because the guidelines for SNAP are incredibly strict. It doesn't matter your race. SNAP workers don't have the ability to say, oh, you're white, I'm denying you. They're looking at your income, and the income is very strict. Which brings me to another point of why are people on the right so obsessed with people that get SNAP when it's already hard enough to get it? And being white doesn't make you not get it. But this person obviously has something against black people. They think they're the enemy. They think that a poor black person has the exact same experience, the exact same struggles as a poor white man. No, they have all of your problems and so much more against them. It just makes me wonder why people don't choose to educate themselves on this and they just want somebody to not like because they're suffering. And so somebody that's suffering more than them, they have to hurt them instead of looking at the top 1%, at the rich people. Why are you mad at other poor people? Why are you mad at other poor people just because they have a different skin color than you and you need somebody to look down on? Why are you not looking down on the people that are above you? Why are you not looking at their greed? Why are you not looking at their manipulation tactics that convinced you to scapegoat another human being who's never hurt you? If you've been brainwashed by the system, you know that you can wake up, right? You can educate yourself. You can educate other people. You cannot let these rich people succeed at what they're trying to do to us. It's us versus them. It's us versus them. It's not us versus us. That's what they want. They want the little poor people to fight against each other, right? And the middle class even. They don't want us fighting against the rich, because if we fight against the rich, we have power. Because we have power in numbers. There's more of us than them. But that makes too much sense, right? You just want to be angry. You want to be angry as somebody who's born with more struggles than you are, and then has your struggles on top of it. Why are people like this? And then when you point this out to people, they always have something else to say instead of just listening to what you're saying and soaking it in and being like, wait a second, you have a point. It's crazy.
Young white boys and men are so angry because their parents prepared them for a world that simply does not exist. Their parents prepared them for a world that no longer exists, I should say. Their parents did them a great disservice in this way. They were expecting a world where black people were inferior to them. They were taught that they were the cream of the crop. They were the best of the best. They were taught that their skin color gave them an advantage over black and brown people. And it does, but not exactly in the way they had hoped, right? And because the world doesn't exactly look like how they expected it to look, they have decided to simply create their own reality. For example, them continuously spouting that 1350 thing, 13% of the population of 50% of violent crime. It has been debunked, multiple times all across the internet. But they continue to spew that because that's the reality that they have prepared themselves for. And they're going to stick beside it. Like, they prepared themselves, their parents prepared them for a world in which black people are violent and thugs and bullies and the bad guys. And maintaining that perception is literally what keeps them going. If they ever allowed themselves to believe that black people were actually not the bad guys and that they were the bad guys, they would themselves. And so they have to maintain this reality that they have created for themselves where black people are the bad guys and everyone else is the good guys. The perceptions that they have created and maintained are a big part of why they are alive today. Without that, they would have no will to live. Why do you think they're so rabid in black people's comment sections? They're keeping themselves alive. It's literally a full-time job having to maintain falsities and untruths. This country runs and continues to operate on white people having to maintain the illusion that they are better than us, that they are the good guys. They've even created figures like Superman. They made themselves the heroes in everyone's story, and they have essentially gatekept an opportunity for other people, for other cultures to also have a say in the narratives that we are fed every day. That's a part of maintaining the illusion, right? They have to maintain the illusion that they are the heroes, and they have to keep black people and brown people from creating narratives of their own that say the opposite. That's why we're underrepresented in media, in writers' rooms, because our narratives will disprove theirs. Essentially, they're under a spell, right? White people, especially young white boys, they are under a spell. They're under the spell that their parents have cast upon them to maintain racism and the illusion of superiority. That's all.
The problem with American politics is if you're not racist, you need to be acting like you're black right now. Yeah, I said it. Because see, at no time in American history since black people were allowed to vote, at any time did we vote for someone that we were 100% aligned with. Every single person that we voted for, we had to make some form of concessions of something in their belief system, their background, or something they normalized that we weren't for, but they were necessary for us to support because they would be part of our progress, albeit incrementally, but better than the latter. We've always known that our candidates that we're supporting were flawed, but we would support them because they would be the best option for us to move forward. There was never any absolutes at any time in our history of voting, and that included with Barack Obama. We have always known the party has to make concessions in order for them to push some of their agenda forward as a part of a negotiating ploy to get any type of bill presented to make it even to the floor, let alone to get the adequate number of votes necessary for the bill to be enacted. We've always known this, and so have you, but for some reason now, all of a sudden, there is this absolute of why you can't support someone because of one issue or two issues of what they support or don't defend or stand against, and therefore you can't get behind them. And it always seems to fall on the shoulders of black political candidates. Yet the irony is, the black candidate stands for equality, stands for diversity, stands for healthcare, stands for police reform, stands for educational funding, stands for gun reform. So do you understand how ridiculous it sounds to want to push those things to the side in order to focus on the stance they have with Israel? They're taking innocent lives in America too. They're starving American people in the streets too. They're denying humanitarian aid in America too. They're allowing people to die in the streets too. And the candidates that want to address these issues who are lobbying for your votes are running into a dead end because of their positioning with Israel. But we know this is not about Israel at all. That's why you're not posting content about the 80% of the congressmen and women who are taking AIPAC money. That's why you want to talk about Jasmine Crockett in Texas, and you don't have any post about what Greg Abbott is doing in Texas. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, literally strong-arming educational system with forcing, turning point in schools, and a mandate of sorts, and withholding funding, threatening to withhold funding for schools that would push back about not having Turning Point as something as a part of their curriculum. But that doesn't push you to make a video about that or be outraged about that or to talk about that, does it? And the irony about the Turning Point convention, big show that's happening with a bunch of sponsors, one of the biggest sponsors is TikTok. But you're not bothered by that either, are you? You know how I know? Because you don't want to support Jasmine Crockett because what she didn't say about Israel. But your ass is still on this app, despite knowing this app is supporting Turning Point. And you won't be mad about this app, no matter who bought it.
White people need to learn how to challenge authority instead of challenging minorities. Okay? Now wait, listen. White people have this innate need every time there's a black person, Latino person, Arab person, person of color who says something that they either disagree with or feel like they disagree with or feel like they are the anomaly outside of that group of things that the person of color is talking about. They're just like, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. Or what about this? Or what about me? Or how about this? But I'm just like, y'all have all this energy towards a minority who says something that you don't like, but when it comes to an authority figure that you don't like and they say something wrong, well, it's just like, oh, it's fine, or oh, they didn't mean it, or oh, I'm sure they were saying something else, or oh, just ignore that altogether, or oh, I have no power to change that, or oh, I don't know. It's just like, what do you, it's just like all these, y'all get every excuse in the book for an authority figure. But when it comes to a minority, you're listen, don't take this wrong, but like this is why the word Karen came to be. It was birthed out of white people, white women specifically, feeling like they need to exert their authority over people of color. And that's what it is. It's like, I feel like white people, they have, and I heard this from White Woman Whisperer, she was talking about how white people have authority, like they always feel like they're the father to the father or an authority figure to the authority figure, and they feel like inherently in their hearts that they are an authority figure to people of color. And so they feel like they have this divine right to correct people of color whenever they feel like a person of color is wrong or needs correcting. But they feel like because there's always this hierarchy in life, that whenever someone that they deem as above them, their parents or their grandparents or the police or the government or God, that is telling them to do something that they don't believe in, or that they do something that they think is wrong, they still have to do it because they cannot challenge authority. And that's why they also get so upset when people of color push back on them, because inside of them they see that as someone who is in a position of less authority pushing back on them, the authority. Are y'all listening? White people, y'all don't know it, but you have this inherent feeling inside of you that you are a authority figure to people of color. Like, that has been ingrained in you all since the reception of the United States of America, is that white people are the authority over people of color. Like, that y'all have always been placed on top, and from a political, financial, economic, like social standpoint, you all have always been placed literally legally given the authority over people of color. And that culture has never went away. It has went away on paper, mostly, kinda, but in practice and in reality, it never went away. And so a lot of you have in your minds, even though you don't know you have it in your minds, but you have it in your minds that what you think and what you feel and what you have to say is more important or more authoritative than the person of color who is speaking, because you are. Because you do, because it is. Like, whatever you have to say, you just genuinely with all your heart feel like it is more important or more legitimate than a person of color. And that, I'm not gonna lie, pisses me off. It pisses me off because, like, I talk about racism a lot on the page, and so the amount of white people who come into my page, especially this, I'm never gonna forget this post I made about blonde hair being racist, and every single white woman in all of America came into my page to tell me I'm wrong. And I'm just like, how can you as a white person tell me as a black person who has studied history, studied racism, studied socialism, studied public health, studied population, studied all these things through the lens of racism? How are you gonna come and tell me that I am wrong about racism? Someone who has experienced racism, a black woman who has experienced racism on many occasions in her life, overtly overtly, covertly, in any other kind of way, you're going to tell me you know more about racism than me. And the excuse is that they feel like I don't know about what they like. Like, you're just like, oh, I like blonde hair because blonde hair is, I just prefer that. I just prefer my hair lighter. And it's just like, but when I ask them, why do you prefer that? Where did that belief that blonde hair is more pretty or more beautiful, where did that belief come from? They're just like, it just is. You don't question your thoughts. You don't question your beliefs. Don't question where a preference came from. You're thinking too deep. Now you're too woke. Now you're too woke. Now I'm the woke friend. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna just leave that there. I'm a little traumatized from that post. Not gonna lie, but that is what it is. Is white people love challenging minorities, but they cannot, for the life of them, challenge authority. Think about it.
European colonialism, imperialism, and racial superiority ideology, i.e., the delusion of white supremacy, are attempted vehicle strategies and methods of destiny swapping of colonial powers against black and brown communities, socially, historically, culturally, geographically, and politically. In fact, the delusion of white supremacy operates identical to the psychological projection of every accusation is a projection because systemic whiteness accuses black and brown communities of its own shortcomings. And I'll give a list of examples. There is the overarching accusation that black and brown communities are violent, savage, and barbaric, when history has shown us that the most violent, savage, and barbaric group of people on the planet are white colonizers and what they have done to black and brown communities across the globe. There's an accusation that black and brown communities are unclean and have improper societies, when pre-colonialism black and brown societies were rather developed and complex and were clean and experienced destabilization by way of colonizers bringing diseases from Europe. There's this idea that black and brown people are less educated than white people, when here in the US, the demographic of most educated adults is black women, and the demographic of least educated adults who have the lowest literacy are US born adult white men, according to the National Center of Education Statistics 2024. There's also micro level social attitudes and ideas that are reinforce stereotypes of black and brown people. For example, the idea that black women are welfare queens, when historically white women have been the overwhelming recipient of all social welfare in the United States. The only way that the delusion of white supremacy continues to work is by our own belief of these destiny swapping psychological projections, because again, white supremacy accuses black and brown communities of its own shortcomings, which is why we should not be listening to or internalizing these projections, because they are not reflective of our history, of our people, or of our communities.
Anyways, you guys have seen all of that video, and to be honest with you, if a lot of energy that white folks are actually channeling to racism on the black end is being channeled to how things is going to be fixed in the country, I feel like we would have gotten to a better place. Please let me water. But at the end of the day, they don't channel all of those energy to what is profitable. They channel them to negativity. They channel them to anything that will bring or talk down black people. And honestly, I give this woman kudos for bringing out or picking out all of this points. Because at the end of the day, the only people that are really suffering on this system is black people. I don't care about people that actually voted for the orange man. Like, I really do not care about them. No matter how the system is going to be doing with them, that is what they choose. That was their choice. They had an opportunity to choose someone that would be better for them. But they decided that this is who they are going for, because they always want to say, oh, these are the color skin types. But a lot of things has gone down to the point that nobody cares about black Americans. Nobody cares about their feelings. Nobody cares about anything. And the system has gone to that level, to the point of leading even the immigrants that are coming, serving them different notation on their head that black Americans are not people you should do it. Black Americans are not people you should even... I don't know if you guys get what I'm trying to say. So when I saw this woman video, I was like, no, it is absolutely going to be the best for me to bring it down here so that we can digest on it. I keep saying it in my video. America was one place. Now I'm changing it to was one place. Every single one of us wish to go to. But if you're going now as a black person, you have to now start thinking, if the people that built the country are actually going through all of this systemic racism, etc., what becomes of you? What becomes of you? And now, I don't just want to say a lot. I don't just want to say a lot because this is a social media platform. But anyways, let me know what you think about this particular video. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you that are watching my videos, dropping commentaries, sharing my videos, and also subscribing, joining my membership, and sending super thanks. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. Thank you so much. Just let me know what you think about this video. Subscribe, like this video, drop me your comments. And lastly, do not forget to share for every other person to get this good news. And yes, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys.